Let's dive into Scratch's training so that we can stay consistent at home. So, whenever he's offering a behavior that we want to keep on seeing, whether that's him being polite, gentle, or following a command, we want to make sure that we're rewarding him with praise, petting, and treats. That way, we can communicate that that's what we want to keep on seeing, and we'll see those behaviors more often. And then, if we're ever seeing a behavior like nipping, jumping, playing too rough, or even breaking a command, we want to make sure that we're following through with training equipment right here. That way, we can communicate that, hey, that's not what we want, and we'll see those behaviors less often. So this right here is his prong collar. I would definitely recommend having his leash on in the house at first. That way we can communicate more effectively our new rules. So how this will go on and off is you'll secure one of the links right there, push those two loops up, squeeze, and wiggle them through. To put them back, you'll line those two prongs back up with those two loops, and then gently push and wiggle them back through. And then the leash itself will attach to the swiveling D-ring right here. And then how it works is, say he's offering an unwanted behavior, we'll mark that behavior by saying no, following through with that pop of that prong collar, and then continuing on with that command. And then this right here is his remote collar. To turn the collar on or off, what you'll do is you'll touch those two red dots together. When the collar lights up green, that means it's on. On the back of the remote, there's an L button. If you press and hold that, that's the on and off button. You'll see the screen light up blue with his working level, which is level 29. On the side right here, we want to focus on that black S button. S just stands for stimulating, and so what it does is it stimulates the muscles on the side of his neck. That way it catches his attention a little bit better. So to communicate with our remote collar, it's very similar to the prong collar. What you'll do is you'll mark that incorrect behavior by saying no, follow through with that black S button, and then continue on that behavior. Alrighty, and then we are ready to jump into some of his commands. So first, we have our heel command. Heel is a nice loose leash walking position on our left-hand side. Whenever he's in that position, we want to make sure that we're rewarding him with praise, petting, or treats. That way we can reinforce that position. And then if he is being funky and jumping to the side or pulling ahead of us or even being a little mouthy with our hand, we want to make sure that we're following through with our training equipment. That way we can discourage those behaviors and we'll see our wanted behaviors more often. And then during a walk, we usually only have him in a heel command around 80 or 90% of the time. The other 10 or 20%, we can have him in a free. And free just breaks him out of any of his commands. It means he's allowed to do as he pleases. But we still don't want to see any rude behaviors. So if he's jumping on someone, being a little mouthy, or pulling on that leash, we need to make sure that we're communicating with him. And even though he is in a free, we don't want any tension in that leash. And then next, we have sit. So sit automatically has an implied stay. So once we tell him to sit, he's not allowed to get up until we tell him either free or heel. This command is great for if you're greeting someone or going to approach a door. So you can have him in that sit, and then if you're going to open the door or greet that person, we want to make sure that he's staying in that sit until we tell him free or heel. But if he does break that sit, we need to put him back and try again until he gets it right. Down is very similar. It also has the implied stay. So as soon as he's in that down, he's not allowed to get up until we tell him free. And then if he does get up, go back and try again until he gets it right. And then next we have our place command. This one's great for if you're having people over or making dinner. It's a boundary stay. So instead of staying in a sit or a down, he's able to get comfortable as he pleases as long as he stays on his place bed. When you're introducing this one at home, I would definitely recommend starting him out on a leash. That way we can communicate more effectively with him. And then next we have recall or come when called. When we're practicing this one at home, we want to make sure that we have him on a really long leash at first. That way we can still have access to him if he decides he doesn't want to listen at first. So when we're practicing this one, we'll get him distracted, and then when he's nice and far away, we'll nice and loudly say, come. And then if he doesn't, we'll reel him in like a fish or follow through with our training equipment. And then when he does, we still want to make sure that we're rewarding him, even if he doesn't come when we call him first. So as soon as he's back in our place in our sit or a down, we want to make sure that we're rewarding him. And then next, we have leave it. So also in practicing this one at home first, we want to start nice and easy with a treat or a dog-safe toy. So we'll toss that object away from him, say leave it, nice and loud, and then as soon as he's in a sit or a down, we can tell him free, and then if it's something that he's allowed to have, you can say okay and either point on it or offer it to him in your hand. But he's not allowed to have that object until you tell him okay. And also starting this one out on a leash so that we can communicate a little bit better with him at first. Alrighty, that is everything, and we are ready to watch him do his commands. Good, down. Down. Good, down. 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 Good, down. Free. Good boy. Let's go over some of the features of Scratch's remote collar. So to turn the collar on and off, what you'll do is you'll line those two red dots up and touch them together. When the remote collar flashes green, that means it's on. If it flashes red, that means it is off. And then to turn the remote on, you'll press and hold that L button on the back until that screen lights up blue. And then to turn it off, you'll just press and hold it again until that screen turns off. Just like that. And then, reminder, turn it on, press those two dots together, and then press and hold that button on the back. And then going over the buttons on the remote, over here you'll have that T button. T is just the vibrate setting, so that's great to use if you are not sure if you turned on the remote collar itself. You can press that and it'll vibrate the collar. On the other side, you'll have that black S button. S just stands for stimulating. It stimulates those muscles on the side of his neck, and the black S button is going to be our everyday use. So whenever he's offering a behavior that you're not wanting to see, you'll mark it with no, press that black S button, and then continue on. This red S button is for emergencies. So say he's running after something and you can't get him to come back to you. What you'll do is you'll try that black S button, and if he's not responding to that, then you can go for that red S button. But once again, it's for emergencies only. And what it does is it jumps those levels up 25. So depending on what working level you have him, it'll jump it up 25 from there. And then if you need to adjust his working level, which you might depending on how he grows, you can press and hold this knob at the top, and then you'll see that number flash, and then you can adjust it from there. And then press and hold it again to lock it in place. Right now we have him on level 29. And then on the back of the remote collar, that on and off button also functions as a flashlight. So if you press it once, it'll turn on to the flash setting. If you press it again, it'll just press and hold that light. Press it a third time, we'll turn it off. Next to that button, you have that M/C. That just stands for momentary or continuous. So when we first introduce the remote collar, we introduce it on a very low level. That way we can introduce it positively. Now that he's further in his training, we only have it momentary. So no matter how long you press that button, it'll just give one little stimulus and then it will stop. And we definitely recommend keeping it on the momentary setting. That way he can continue on in his training. Alrighty, and then the remote collar itself does have a 2-year warranty. So if you run into any issues with it, definitely go ahead and contact the company and they should be able to set you up for either a replacement or anything like that. And then it is also waterproof. So if he's in the water, that's totally fine. I just definitely recommend that if he's wet for a longer amount of time to adjust where the remote collar itself is. That way it's not irritating his skin at all. And then this will go on as soon as he wakes up in the morning and then at night. So whenever you have eyes on him, so are his collars. And then usually it lasts around 12 to 14 hour days, like 2 or 3 of them. So if you charge it every other day, you should be totally fine. Other than that, those are all of his features of his collars, and you are all set to have fun and stay consistent.